Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
Both as clients or landowners that it purchases land from. Hence, it is really important to refute and to put this company side of the story to the Gambian people, and both here and the diaspora, to know the real truth, and hopefully will succeed in revealing the real truth, so people make up their own minds as to the entire circumstance relating to that press release by the GT board. So at this stage, if you've got any questions, we're willing to answer those questions. According to the GT board, according to the Act in relation to a GT board, any land that falls within 800 meters from the high water mark is considered to be within the vicinity of the Gambia Tourism Board, or TDA, Tourism Development Area, 800 meters from the high water mark, from the sea, effectively. We want to make it absolutely clear that the Sanyang Seaview Estate is not within the TDA. In fact, okay, and we'll make it absolutely clear that the Sanyang Seaview Estate is located some 1,400 meters from the high water mark. So it's at least 300 to 400 meters away from the demarcation line. So the claim by GT Board that the Sanyang Seaview Estate is within the TDA is completely false and unfounded. Is completely incorrect. And to buttress on that point, approval for lands in relation to the Sanyang Seaview Estate, physical planning, okay, Department of Lands and so physical plan have actually issued clearance and approval in relation to the Sanyang Seaview Estate. This was applied for, and obviously there are procedural mechanisms. This was applied for, and it was legally issued by the department that is responsible for issuing approvals in relation to land. That was done because the Sanyang Seaview is not within the TDA. So that claim in the press release by the GT Board is completely false.
I would like to know how you acquired that land.
The Sanyang Seaview Estate was purchased from the people of Sanyang. Different families came together to accumulate that land, and it was purchased from them. The prominent Kabilo in Sanyang that EJ Investments purchased the land from is the Nambara Kabilo Kunda, one of the biggest Kabilos in the Gambia, if not in Congo, if not the entire country. The Kabilo issued one Mr. Karamo Bojang with a power of attorney to act on their behalf, okay? And this happened over a period of time. The entire transactions in the acquisition of those lands were fair and transparent. And you will later find out that the people of Sanyang are 100% behind EJ Investments because he treated them with complete and utmost respect throughout the transaction. So the people of Sanyang are just as completely baffled and disappointed at the claims by GT Board because that doesn't fall within the GT Board. And like I said, there's clearance. Okay, actually the customers have actually been issued their lawful document, their title deeds, because the entire process has been completed in relation to their title deeds.
What evidence do you have?
Yes, I think with the evidence, but do we have it in the office?
Yeah, we will show you, okay? The evidence, I don't think anything more could be more authentic than the lines, but the clearance issued by the physical planning. And by doing that, the EJ Investments have actually issued the clients who purchased land in the Sanyang Seaview Estate their title deeds, okay, and their transfer. So after this briefing, EJ Investments would show you the documents issued by the physical planning to refute. So this will show you in black and white that the claim by GT Board is false and unfounded.
You are doing business with a lot of people who incredibly rely on, who would need to have confidence in your business. And if institution like GT Board comes to put out a press release suggesting that land in fact does not legally belong to you, I mean, it could affect confidence in the people on your business. I mean, how do you think that's going to affect you?
Very good question, and that's why we're here today. There's no doubt that consumers always, at all times, want confidence in institutions that they deal with. So if there's a lack of confidence, it has a serious consequence on the business operations of the company that they deal with. EJ Investments is a very reputable company, and its foremost currency, i.e. the core values of this company, is its reputation and the way it deals with its customers. There is no doubt that over the last week, since the publication by the GT Board, this company has received numerous inquiries and inquiries in relation to the press release. Okay, And one of the consequences of that is the lowering of the public's confidence or people that deal with the company. And the reason why we're holding this press briefing, and the reason why a press release was issued today in the Standard newspaper and probably other media outlets, and the reason why EJ Investment will also show you proof, especially in relation to the Sanyang Seaview Estate, documents issued by the Department of Physical Planning after legally applying for and being issued, to show and to restore the confidence that the claim by GT Board is false. That EJ Investments is engaging in business in Sanyang lawfully and with a sense of credibility and business integrity. And I hope when all is said and done, when those documents are shown to the media, that the Gambian people, both in this country and abroad, would make a conscious decision at the end of it all, that the reputation of this company, although the intention perhaps of GT Board was to damage, but people are matured and sensible enough to know that EJ Investments is a reputable company.
Could this have posed a reasonable number of your investment at risk? If so, what potential loss may we be looking at?
At the moment, I wouldn't want to go too far into perhaps the financial impact, but needless to say that since the publication, there's been a serious impact on the business in relation to potential buyers, but as well as people who actually purchased land in the Sanyang Seaview Estate. But I wouldn't want to go into the specifics in terms of numbers, but
millions of investments.
But it is putting the investments of this company, millions of dollars or dollars that have been invested in the estates and the projects that they embarked on, that can have serious impact, and that shouldn't be taken lightly. This is a company, it's a public body, releasing a statement rather irresponsibly without actually thinking about the consequences of their actions on the company that they decided to portray in a bad light in the media.
Of course, we were together yesterday at Tujare and Sanyang. Of course, one will easily confirm that your property around Sanyang is, of course, way more than 1,000 meters away from the seaside. That of Tujare cannot be certain. But we have seen residents around Tujare which are very close to the seaside, which are not affected by this. And of course, your properties are way farther than those residences which have been, of course, occupied over the years. One will want to know how does the company intends to take that up with the tourism board. And the other question is, of course, other areas were mentioned like Katong and Batukunku. We want to know whether you in fact have any property around that end. And we were there together finally, you as a lawyer, and knowing very well that the incidents that have occurred just this year when it comes to land issues, this year and last year, we were there together, and you have heard what the residents were saying, that they are ready to put their lives on the line to ensure that these things are not taken away from them just like that. If you are going to give an honest statement towards this, what will it be?
Firstly, contrary to what is stated in the press release, EJ Investment do not have any estates in Tanje, Barakunku, or Katong. That's completely false. Okay, it manifests another false claim by the GT board. That's one. Secondly, in relation to how land in Tujara and Seaview Estate was acquired, this was acquired from the people of Sanyang, the people of Tujara, the indigenous people. Land ownership in this country is either formal or informal. Formal in terms of leasehold property or customary tenure. And customary, probably 90% or close to that land in the Gambia is freehold, is customary. The people of Tujara, the different families and the kabilos that sold land lawfully to EJ Investments are the people that have farmed on these lands for decades. People whose grandparents toiled in those lands, okay? And recognition and ownership of land through customary tenure is recognized in the Gambian Constitution. The more specific, Section 7E of the Gambian Constitution recognizes customary ownership of land. Again, like Sanyang, the whole transactions were fair and transparent, okay? The people were not so changed, and that is why they are not happy with the way GT Board are trying to change the narrative about this whole land in Tujareng and Sanyang. There was Alcalo transfer in relation to those, the purchase of those lands, sold by the people who are the customary custodians and possessors of that land. Currently, we've been engaging with the GT Board and other government institutions to allow, because obviously land, like in any other transaction, there are processes to follow. And EJ Investments are in the process of acquiring the required documents to allow development on that land. And that is where we are now. In relation to the people of Tujareng, they are aggrieved. Clearly you can see they are upset and angry at GT Board because the message in the press release last week is false. And the content seems to give the impression that the people of Tujareng are selling land that doesn't belong to them. That's false. Again, I emphasize that these people, their grandparents, have been farming on these lands. It is their land, it's their customary land. The whole transaction was witnessed by the Alcalo, and those documents were issued. Another important point to make, it was along these lines that there was a serious chaos that resulted in loss of life in Faraba last year. What happened at Gunjur Berending not long ago is along similar lines. GT Board is a public body. It's a creation of statute by Parliament, okay, exercising public functions. They have a duty and a moral responsibility to make sure that if it publishes anything, that it is truthful, honest. I think it is my opinion that they acted in bad faith. What they do now is to try and jeopardize the reputation of the Invest, but as well as the people who own their land. People who've owned their land for decades before GT Board ever came into being. So by saying that the press release, although directed at EJ Investments, but indirectly, but perhaps even directly, affects more so the people of Tujareng. So it is important for GT Board to realize that they're treading on very dangerous waters, okay? And they have a duty. The people at the occupying the decision-making, the people at the hierarchy of GT Board ought to realize that they are civil servants and they have a duty. We can take them to account according to the laws of this country. And the release in relation to Tujareng and the people is false.
You claim that you have legally acquired those plot of land in Tujareng and Sanyang. But in the event, the DG Board failed to grant you an approval to go ahead with your investment, what other avenues do you have in place in order to resolve this issue?
It's a very important question, but I think that is too preemptive. It's too preemptive, and I perhaps would not want to jeopardize, so I wouldn't go into. I think that's very, very, very unlikely. Okay, we've engaged. I don't want to go into details of what we've done so far, but I can tell you that the investments, that money spent by individuals to acquire land in Tujering would not be disadvantaged. EJ Investments wants to make it absolutely clear to anyone who's purchased land in Tujering that their investments are safe and secure. I wouldn't want to, since we're still in the process of trying to acquire documents that will allow the commencement development on the land, I wouldn't want to either preempt the outcome or to jeopardize and to go into the substance of those efforts. And I'm sure you can appreciate that.
This will be directed to Ibrahim Jane. Just want to know how was it like for this information? Let's say this press release in connection to your business. Of course, you are not the only investor who is affected. Given the fact that you are building momentum, your business is building momentum, both in and outside the country, how does it feel?
My family and I, and my staff, are very disappointed by these baseless allegations. And then this will scare away the Gambians, especially the politicians always and the government institutions always encourage us to invest in the Gambia, especially us young Gambians. So this will scare away young Gambians to invest in the Gambia. You know, it's a very disappointing allegation and a baseless and disappointing allegation.
And you know, I asked this question to your lawyer, but it seems he doesn't understand what I meant exactly. You know, we went to sign and to the register. I was asking, like, how do you feel this decision of the GT board, given the fact that there are residents very close to the seaside, and your property is actually meters away from those residences which are already built and people are living there, and they are untouched. But
before he answers, let me. I'm glad you asked it again. Maybe I didn't answer. Yes, we visited the site, and clearly we can see lots of properties, even closer to the sea, with developments on them. That is the more reason why we believe that the actions GT board was selective, deliberately to target EJ Investments to damage its good name and reputation. Clearly, you can see we took a walk along the lines, and there are lots of properties, and we can show proof that those properties have been issued documentation by GT board that is still making those claims contrary to what's contained in the press release last week. Clearly, this would show that I think it's most important to ask yourselves, well, why would GT board single out EJ Investments? I know a couple of other estate agents were mentioned. When along the entire length and the breadth and stretch of that coastal line in Tujering, loads and loads of properties, even closer to the sea, you've seen them, built structures. This land has been demarcated, and millions and millions have been spent just to level the ground. And then for a public body to deliberately, for whatever, overdone in my opinion, to damage the reputation. And that in itself shows you of the bias and the selective nature of their actions. Why would they even release that press publication last week? We could have been engaged. EJ Investments could have been engaged directly, but that didn't happen. So decided to go to the media. What was their intention? Overdone, in my opinion, to scare potential investors or potential buyers from dealing with EJ Investments. And I think that's a very serious matter to be taken by a government body. And I can also make it clear to you that apart from residential homes, there are potential investors, not potential, there are investors, and EJ Investments actually intends to use part of that land for purposes that are consistent with tourism development. okay, high-end luxury apartments for tourism purposes. We've made this clear to GT Board. What the investments intend to do is to actually change the landscape. What it intends to do is actually to improve the face of that region in terms of tourism development. And if you're not going to allow a young Gambian investor to do that, then who else are you going to give that opportunity to? Should it be the case that we will only say that, okay, these are prime locations, and it's only going to be the Europeans who are going to be given some bit of advantage to acquire those lands? It's unfair. This is our land. This is our country.
It's the land we invested in.
Absolutely.
We purchased. We spent millions of dollars, not even dollars, on this development of these lands. And the people of Sanyang and Tujarang are both excited to see the kind of developments we are about to do in their areas, as you see on these designs. So, and it's not like a promise. The work is ongoing. You could see the difference. Within months, if you were in Tujarang and Sanyang and have been there recently, you will see the changes we have done there. And the changes we have done there are very, very significant, and we're hoping to carry on with our project as planned, to have this luxury housing project done.
Will you demand any apologies from GT Board?
Definitely.
Immediate?
GT Board, again, it's a public, it's not a private enterprise, it's a public body. In light of everything that's happened, I think the responsible thing would be for GT Board to issue another statement and retract and refrain from the statements that they made. Okay, I think that would be the most appropriate course of action, considering all the circumstances of this whole affair. So we actually, or EJ Investment is actually demanding GT Board to issue a public apology and a retraction from last week's press statement. So I think marks we bring the curtains down. I think the next thing now would be to visit the actual land in Tujarang and speak to and speak to the people. Okay, so now you've heard from EJ Investments. Go and speak to the landowners. Hear their side of the story. Make up your own minds. Tell the Gambian people the truth. You have a duty as journalists to uphold the principles of justice and fairness. Is this justice? You know, there's this backway syndrome, okay? Young Gambians perishing in the seas because they want to better their lives. Here's a young Gambian who is investing, employing lots of Gambians, being paid monthly, paying his taxes, because I deal with the registration of the company documents and stuff like that. The actions of GT Board, what does it send to young Gambians who want to invest in the Gambia? Because if we allow this to happen, then people say, well, there's no point to discuss because bureaucracy and government actions will stop you from achieving your potential. So you need to challenge GT Board. You need to put them task. That is your job. It is not a public body. It is not a private body. It's a public body. We pay their salaries. It's a creation of National Assembly, of our representatives. So they have a duty to answer to our queries. So if they act in a manner that is unprofessional and irresponsible, you need to ask them those tough questions. And if you're not satisfied, you need to hit them even harder. And hit them not in terms of, but ask them. You need to be, well, I'm not going to tell you your job, but the point I'm trying to make is that this is very discouraging. What EJ Investments are trying to do is to boost the economy. It's trying to and, in their own way, contribute to the socio-economic development of this country. And what GT Board should have done at all times to welcome people like EJ Investments with open arms, rather than to castigate and damage their good name.
That was it.
Okay. Okay.
Now we can be able to go to the site for you people to meet with the locals there, for you to also, yes, for you to also be able to get their point of view when it comes to the scenario that has happened regarding the last week GT Board.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.